It was supposed to be a family dinner, something warm, intimate, something to celebrate his recent engagement. My son, Jordan, had invited me weeks ago, telling me he wanted me to finally meet his fiancé's parents. "It's important to me, Mom," he had said, with the same boyish charm he used when asking for ice cream as a child. I was touched, honestly. We hadn't spent much time together since he moved out to the city. He was busy, ambitious, building a name for himself in finance, networking with the kind of people who only ever saw someone's worth in numbers, not kindness. Please subscribe to our channel and tell me in comments from where are you watching this video. I wore my nicest outfit. It wasn't new, but it was clean, well pressed. A navy blue dress I'd saved from his college graduation, tailored, modest, and dear to me. I even curled my hair the way he liked it when he was little. My hands shook a little as I put on the pearl earrings his late father had given me. I took the early train, walked the final few blocks to the upscale downtown restaurant where we were meeting, and arrived 10 minutes early, just in case. The hostess gave me a strange look when I walked in. She glanced at my shoes, practical, nothing flashy, and asked with a stiff smile, "Are you here alone?" I told her I was waiting for my son, Jordan Spencer. Reservation at 7. She scanned the list, then gave me a tight nod and said, "They've already arrived. I'll take you to them." I followed her through the marble-floored dining room, heart fluttering. Then I saw them. Jordan sitting tall and handsome in his custom-fitted suit, his fiancée Natalie glowing in a sleek red dress, her parents the image of old-money elegance. Wine glasses clinked, laughter echoed. Jordan saw me coming, and I swear for a second his smile faltered. I stepped forward, waving gently. "Hi, sweetheart." And then he said it, loud enough for the waiter to hear, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "She's not with us." My smile froze. I blinked. I thought maybe I'd misheard. Maybe he was joking. But the waiter paused in confusion. "Sir, she said she's your guest?" Jordan gave a small laugh, the kind people use when they're embarrassed. She's just stopping by. Long story. Sorry." Natalie glanced at me, barely masking her discomfort. Her mother gave me a once-over that felt like a punch in the stomach. I could see her assessing my handbag, my shoes, my skin. Poor, plain, not one of them. I stood there like a fool, a ghost. My heart pounded in my ears, and I tried to speak, but my throat had tightened into a knot. I cleared it softly and smiled somehow. "It's all right. I can find a table of my own." The waiter looked horrified. "Ma'am, please, right this way." "No," I interrupted gently, turning toward Jordan. "It's okay, maybe next time." But I didn't walk out. I didn't cry. Not yet. I sat quietly at a small table nearby, just far enough not to be a part of them, but close enough to hear. I ordered tea. I watched them sip champagne. I watched Natalie's parents lean in to talk about vacation homes and trust portfolios. I watched my son laugh at their jokes, my son, who once cried in my arms when he scraped his knee, who once clung to me like I was the whole world. And then I watched him avoid my gaze. All night. When the check came, I heard Natalie say, "Oh, should we split it?" Her mother scoffed lightly. "Oh no, Jordan insisted he'd cover it, said it was his treat." Jordan grinned like a man showing off. "Of course." And that's when I stood up, walked over quietly, and without a word, took the bill from the waiter's hand. "I've got it," I said. Jordan's smile vanished. "Mom, what are you doing?" "Paying," I replied simply. I pulled out my card, the same one he probably assumed had a $200 limit, the same one that managed the account his father left me years ago, the one he didn't know was tied to a quiet $3.2 million in savings and investments I'd grown slowly and patiently over decades, teaching, saving, sacrificing. The waiter returned moments later, wide-eyed. "All set, thank you, ma'am." Jordan looked like he'd swallowed glass. Natalie's father cleared his throat awkwardly. "Thank you, Mrs. Spencer. That was very generous." I smiled at him politely. "Call me Susan." Then I looked at my son. He was speechless, his face pale. "I hope dinner was good," I said. "It'll be the last one I ever pay for." And I walked out. Calm, silent, but inside I was shaking. Not from anger, from the weight of finally realizing I'd raised a man who was ashamed of his own mother, and he had no idea what that shame was about to cost him. The taxi ride home that night was quiet. I didn't cry. I just sat there, my hands folded on my lap, replaying the moment over and over. His face, the way he avoided my eyes, the way he laughed when he told the waiter I wasn't with them. I thought about all the nights I worked 2 shifts to afford his private school, the years I clipped coupons, mended hand-me-downs, walked instead of taking the bus, just so he could have every opportunity I never did. He used to say I was his hero. Now I was just an embarrassment. I went straight to my desk and opened my files. Inside were all the papers Jordan never asked about, documents of the trust his father had set up before passing, one Jordan had access to when he turned 30. I was the trustee. That meant until the day I approved the final transfer, the $300,000 sitting in that account was still mine to give, or not. I had always planned to hand it over next month as a surprise. I even wrote a note, "For your future, my boy. I'm proud of you." But tonight, I opened that envelope and tore it in half. Then I picked up the phone and called our family lawyer. "Hi, Richard. I'd like to revise the trust. Yes, immediately." The next morning, I went to the bank, finalized the paperwork, and moved every cent into a scholarship fund under my late husband's name. It would help kids with single mothers attend college, kids like Jordan once was. By the end of the day, Jordan's trust fund no longer existed, but he didn't know that yet. And I wasn't going to tell him, not until he came asking for it, because he would. They always do. It didn't take long. 3 weeks later, I got a call from Jordan. His voice was unusually sweet, the kind of careful politeness a person uses when they need something but don't want to admit it yet. "Hey, Mom," he said almost sheepishly. "I was wondering if we could have lunch sometime soon. Just the 2 of us. I feel bad about the dinner. Things got a little weird, and I owe you an apology." I agreed, not because I wanted an apology, I knew it would be hollow, but because I needed to see for myself how far he would go to pretend nothing happened. We met at a cozy cafe I used to take him to as a kid. He was already there, seated at the corner table, looking nervous. When he saw me, he stood up and smiled like everything was fine. "I've missed you," he said, giving me a quick hug. "I've been meaning to catch up. Life's been so hectic lately, you know." I nodded, letting him play his part. He talked. I listened. He danced around the topic like a performer on stage, telling me how his work had been stressful, how Natalie's family was high pressure, how he felt like he had to impress everyone all the time. Then came the pivot. "You know, Mom," he said with a soft chuckle, "I've been meaning to talk to you about the trust Dad left. I know you said you'd give me access once I turned 30, and, well, that's next week." He smiled, waiting. I took a sip of tea and met his gaze calmly. "Yes, I remember." He leaned in. "So, how do we get started with the paperwork? Natalie and I were actually thinking of using part of it for a down payment on a bigger house. Her parents have been helping us too, but we thought, since the trust is already there, it'd be smart to use it, you know." I set my cup down gently. "There's nothing to release." He blinked. "What?" "The trust," I said, "was dissolved. 3 weeks ago. I redirected the funds to a scholarship program for underprivileged students, children with single mothers, like you once were." His jaw fell open. "You what?" "You heard me," I said firmly. "I didn't do it out of spite, Jordan. I did it because I realized something that night at the restaurant. When you looked the waiter in the eyes and told him I wasn't with you, you weren't just embarrassed of me, you erased me. You decided that because I didn't look expensive enough, I wasn't worthy of being called your mother." He was already getting red, his voice rising. "You're blowing this way out of proportion. I was just trying to make sure everyone was comfortable. You think Natalie's parents would have respected me if I brought you over in that thrift store outfit?" I didn't flinch. "That thrift store outfit paid your tuition. It paid your rent when you couldn't get your first job. It kept the lights on when you were too proud to tell anyone you were struggling." His lips curled into frustration. "So what? You're going to punish me by taking away my future?" "No," I said. "You punished yourself the moment you decided that wealth mattered more than respect. The money wasn't your future. It was mine, and your father's legacy, and legacies don't belong to people who can't honor where they came from." He sat back in his chair, stunned into silence. For the first time in years, I saw something crack behind his polished veneer. Shame, and maybe just a glimmer of regret. "I've supported you," I added gently, "loved you, forgave you, time and time again. But this time, I choose me. You said no one wants an old woman at the party, remember? So I'll give you what you asked for." I stood up. "You're officially on your own." He didn't follow me. He didn't call out. Just sat there, jaw clenched, watching as I walked away. And this time, I didn't look back.